I'm Stephen Smith.
So Steve, tell me, were you born and raised here in Baltimore?
Yes, ma'am. My family background started with my grandmother, and it's ironic that my grandmother, she came here at 12 years old, way back in 1932.
Okay.
You know, and then the irony of that is that I came here in 1984 when I was 12. So I always like to compare that, you know, this little coincidence that it was, that I came here at the same age that my grandma was. My grandmother, like I said, my grandmother spent 75 years here, and she brought me in '84, and I started out in Sunday school, and then I was intrigued by being on the altar, and not even, I don't think it was a month after I got here, I came on the altar, and I learned, worked my way up, as they say, through the ranks, went from a junior acolyte to an acolyte, just helping the priests out, you know, carrying candles, carrying the cross, and then I was intrigued by the third from Mr. Day, Mr. Walter Day, late Walter Day, and he taught me how to be a third. He got sick, and I had to step in, and so he taught me how to be a third. And then just went up through, as I stayed here, and it's ironic that I stayed here because we were able to do some turmoil here, and I thought about, you know, leaving, you know, and to be honest with you, Father Rachel, when he came, helped me really to stay here, him and his wife, you know, him and Mrs. Mercer, and they both just been wonderful people, and they were the right fit for what we needed at the time when we was just, you know, going through what we were going through, losing members, whether it be to death or just people leaving. And so when they came, Father, he wanted, his emphasis was on young people. And I ain't that young, but I'm young enough, I guess, to hopefully be around for some years to come. And just I got into being a head acolyte and master ceremonies now. I'm under Mr. Bruce, and I'm pretty much there. I'm pretty much comfortable with doing that. So it doesn't skip a beat if he's not here. I'm able to do what I need to do, and Father lets me pretty much do what I need to do up on the altar, and I really appreciate that. The leeway, the freedom that he gives me, and the trust that he has in me is really important, and I really appreciate him for that. And I'm just looking forward to the future of St. Mary's, and just I know we're going to do some bigger things. We're already doing big things, and we're going to continue to do that, and I believe that.
Okay.
I think that one of the memorable events I enjoyed was we used to do Harvest Home every year, and I say that because I started out, I was a waiter, that's what they used to call. We had a boy and we had a girl, and we used to be in the Great Hall, and the food was prepared downstairs, and so the boy would have to carry the tray up the steps, and then the girl, when we got into the Great Hall, would take the plate off to the table, and we just went around each table till everybody got fed. I would also say, the baptism, on a personal note, baptism of my kids. Both my sons, Christopher and Stephen, were baptized here, and my grandson was also baptized here this year. And my wedding on a personal note, my wife and I got married in 2001. I would also say, as a church, I like the incorporation of the Jazz Fest. And I say that because a lot of people enjoy the music and stuff, and I really like the fact that it's been an annual thing. And also the ball roast, the annual ball roast has been going on, I think it's the 5th year now. The Jazz Fest, I think, been going on for a little longer. And I think those things are important to kind of get people together, and also not only that, but help bring money into the church, because that is most important with money in the church. And I think there's a whole lot of stuff that happened. A lot of some sad stuff, I don't want to really mention that, but just I would just say also Father Mercy and Mrs. Mercy coming to St. Mary's has been a memorable occasion, not an event, but an occasion. And I say that because they're here and they're going to be here. I think that with the separation of whites and blacks in the church, it's just not the way that Jesus would want it, and that's just my personal opinion of it. And it's unfortunate that some of it still goes on, but it's not as bad as it was, I'm sure. With the days, we had fellowship with Moncton some years ago, and they have a predominantly white congregation. And they came here, and we went there, and it was a comfortable situation for both of us. So with the history of St. Mary's and being separate from whites, I just think that I know that had to be tough for our ancestors to have to deal with that. I think we should create worship together with all colors.
Okay.
Yes, I'm on the vestry. I've been on the vestry for 10 years now. I was one of the youngest ones. My grandmother actually advised me to go on the vestry. And honestly, it's funny you say that, because I didn't know what the vestry was. And so I asked Grandma, I said, well, Grandma, it's so important that I go on the vestry. And she goes, well, the vestry runs the church. She goes, and you don't have any young people on the vestry, so I think it'd be a good idea for you. So I joined the vestry. And I learned a lot of things. And then part of the time, I was working so much because by me being so young and having a family, that I wasn't able to do a lot of things that they needed me to do. And I really felt kind of bad about it. Because I think when you're on something, you should be an active person too. But with the vestry, I got kind of bogged down with it. And then Father, when he came on, he asked me to stay. And so it's kind of hard to say no to Father Mercy. And he and I together said we would work together. And he said, just do what you can. And I really appreciate him for that, because I do try to do whatever I can with the vestry, for the church itself. And I think that with him and his leadership, he kind of empowered us to use our skills as we can. Try to have us overexert ourselves. Because being on the vestry can be somewhat, I won't say strenuous, but just, it's like people who don't know about the vestry don't know what we go through or what we have to hear. And I say that because we deal with issues as far as, underneath stuff, and we see a lot of the money issues that a lot of people in the church don't realize that's needed to run this church. So I think the vestry has been good for me. I would like to eventually move up in the vestry. The men's breakfast started under Father Mercy. And it's been going on 2 years now. This September will be 2 years. 2012, September is when we started. And the men's breakfast has been a rewarding thing for me, because it gives me the opportunity to meet up on one Saturday a month, the first Saturday of each month. The second Saturday, I apologize. The second Saturday of each month we meet up and we have men in the church. We come and we talk about issues. And then we do that through the formation of the men's breakfast. We form the men's day. So what we're doing now is we're discussing Men's Day and events, which we had our first annual Men's Day last November of 2013, which is awesome. So we're trying to catch up with the women, but we got a long way to go, I know that. But the men's breakfast has really, Father comes every Saturday, on Saturday with us, and he talks with us. He provides the food, and I asked him about that, and he don't mind. So I try to bring donuts or something, because I know Father do a lot of stuff. And I come up and I cook, and I enjoy doing that. I just would wish that we would get just a little bit more participation from some of the other guys. It's normally a regular group of about 6 of us, maybe, and I hope that we get some more participation when we start back up in September.
Okay.
I thought it was great for the black community to have a black bishop. I kind of compared it to having a black president.
That was going to be my next question.
So it was definitely something that I I look forward to. And I've had the opportunity to meet with him several times. I think it's great for the church, for the Episcopal Church, not just for blacks, for whites too, but I think for something that we've gone through and to see that the times have changed, really makes me feel good about that.
Good.
I think that St. Mary's could play a great role with it because, like Father says, all are welcome here at St. Mary's, and I think that we're the right kind of church to welcome all kinds of people here. So I think moving forward, that we have a great opportunity. I know him coming from St. Bart's. I know they come once in a while, so you see different people come here to visit. And I would just like to see us reach out a little bit more just to some of the other non-black parishes, so we can integrate things. And I say that because we right here in Harlem, West Baltimore, which is predominantly black, right about 99.9%. But just the fact that it doesn't mean that people can't come to different places. I think there's no more whites only and blacks only signs out there. But then again, there's like that I'm trying to think of the word.
It's like segregated on Sunday morning.
Yeah, not by order, but just by way of life,
by action. Mm-hmm.
And I think that we need to get out of that realm of just black sitting in the back of the bus just because we had to. I think it's time for us to integrate and mingle with other races.
Okay.
I watched St. Mary in '84 when I got here. It was about, from what I recall, it was about 200 people here. The congregation was packed. We had double-digit acolytes every Sunday. I would say about 15 to 16 acolytes up on the altar every Sunday for a long time. And as I grew up, from when 12 years old to teenager to high school, everybody left. People left. What I didn't like with St. Mary's is that people left and they didn't come back. And from a personal standpoint, my grandmother she had about 10 grandchildren in this church. None of her children were here, but her grandchildren did. And she had about 10 of us up there, and I'm the only one left. And to me, that's saying something about we need to welcome people back and show them that it's just not your grandmother's church, And I used to say that for so long, like this is my grandmother's church, but it's my church, and I feel like this is my church. I've been here for a long time, and I always recognize my grandmother. But that's what I've seen. I've seen people leave and not come back, and that includes people who have, of course, passed away. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that people have not come back to St. Mary's, and I think that it's up to me too. I know we have something coming up in September with family.
National Baptist Church Day.
I'm going to do my best to get some people and send some information out to the family. And I asked them, I would like to see you guys, just at least come visit. Maybe they'll stay. I tried to get my brother to come here. He came for a couple Sundays, and my sister was coming for a while. Mm-hmm. So I had tried, and my wife was going to a non-denominational church, and now she comes on a regular, but my son, both my kids grew up here, so I'm just trying to, hopefully like to see St. Mary's get back to where it was. And I think we're really on our way. Of course, having been Father Mercy be here. I also would like to see, I would say, a little more attendance with, and I say young people in my generation, maybe the generation below, but just more people that want to come here and stay here, and not only that, but get involved because we have so many things to do here at St. Mary's, and people just need to check things out and find out for themselves, what is there to do here.